to at 12. But right now in a brand new series containing strong language, this is Rock Legends.
Hello there, and a huge Noddy Holder welcome to a brand new series of Rock Legends. Yes, the waiting's over, and it's time once again to launch ourselves headlong into the depths of pop and rock nostalgia. Here's just a taste of some of the goodies in store over the next 8 weeks.
Against racism.
What a lineup. It's gonna be a blast, so don't you dare miss a thing. First up though, our first female star in the Rock Legends Hall of Fame. We're talking about a middle-class girl from Brum who gained a cult following as a punk in the early 80s. She was a professional rebel who went on to huge chart success and a big hit of stage and screen too. You guessed it, I'm talking about the original queen of girl power, my old mate, Toyah Willcox.
Don't be told what to wear as long as you're warm. Who cares? I want to be me.
She was important in giving a sense of identity to people who didn't have a voice in that generation, who found what she was saying, and the way that she was able to say it was important.
My little wife is wonderfully shining, bright person.
She just knew she was going to be famous. You know, she always said that she was going to be famous. And it was like, you know, just for her, it was just breathing.
She was wonderful. Very, very, very vivacious. Always has been, and very extrovert.
Toyah's image has never been tame. She was the original wild child of punk. But she was so much more than just the girl with the big pink hair. She had ruthless ambition, a huge ego and a violent temper. A lethal cocktail for the teenage Brummie. She came from an affluent family, but she was determined to be a rebel.
I think rebellion came easy when most of my life, up until I was a teenager, I had to play a gender role. I didn't like being female. And I didn't want to be a boy either. I just wanted to be a person, and I was acutely aware of this very early on in life, from about the age of 4. I loathed dolls, I loathed dresses, I loathed little shoes, loathed handbags. I mean, everything to do with femininity I couldn't bear. And it was forced on me with such passion and force that I thought, if I don't fight this, I'm going to be stuck with it for the rest of my life. And I went to an all-girls school, which didn't suit me. I was always a tomboy. I was always very aggressive and very physical, and always in rough and tumble fights.
Toyah was a completely wayward teenager. From the first moment of meeting, we just knew she was going to be a rebel. She was pretty outrageous. I mean, the things that she'd done. I mean, she got expelled from school from the start, which we thought was wonderful. You know, we hadn't heard of a public school girl getting thrown out before. It was something quite new.
My friends in Birmingham were very, very limited because my parents never let me socialise. So I had 3 friends, Beena and Geeta, who were sisters, who lived within a wonderful Indian family, who I adored, and Derek Goddard, who subsequently went out with both of them, never went out with me, which broke my heart, but I was the ugly one. And those were my 3 friends. My whole life revolved around them, and they educated me in music, in dress, in everything, because they were like the taste king and queens of Birmingham.
What brought us together was the fact that we liked the same bands. We liked Bowie, we liked T-Rex, Roxy Music, Alice Cooper.
Toyah, Beena and Geeta used to be really inseparable. I mean, very, very beautiful Asian girls, and Toyah always wanted to look like them.
She was different, and I suppose we were different because we were the only Asians. And she was different because, you know, she was just mad. She looked like a little, she probably hates us for saying this, little cave woman. really straight, you know, amazing, thick, dark hair.
Her hair was kind of darker than...
But when she would walk,
she was
used to swing.
Toyah always wanted to project how she felt through her image, and she was determined to stand out.
I always believed that as a young person, even as a teenager and a young woman in my 20s, that you had to look different to be noticed. My name was different. My name would always open doors because people go, Toyah? Toyah, what does that mean? No one had heard of a Toyah in Birmingham. And I just realised that I wasn't pretty enough or special enough intellectually to be noticed unless I was different. And I used it as a passport.
Toyah was my hair model, basically, because she had the most fantastic head of hair. And as well, she would let you do anything. Well, we started off with the pointed fringe, which literally went from about that high to the end of her nose. And it went up in 2 triangles at the either side. The back was actually shaved, and we stenciled a face onto the back of Toyah's head. And she used to actually put her clothes on back to front and walk around backwards.
By this time, I had blue and black hair, pink and black hair. I mean, I just looked like something off another planet. And I was very, very lonely. And no one would come near me. Buses wouldn't pick me up, taxis wouldn't take me home, boys wouldn't come near me.
If you walked into her in a dark passageway, you'd have the fright of your life.
I had an obsession at the time with aliens, and especially the term stranger in a strange land, because I just felt so alienated. I couldn't fit in with anything. I didn't like being a female. I didn't like gender roles. I loathed suburbia. I loathed the idea of getting married and having kids. I just thought, where the hell do I belong? And when Bowie's Starman came along and Ziggy Stardust, it was like, okay, you don't have to fit in. This is brainwashing. So I really identified with that.
It was the late 70s in Birmingham, and the punk movement was really taking off.
When punk started, I think it was very much about socialism. It was very much about the Labour Party, the rights of the workers, the rights to be heard. I saw it on a slightly different level, and that was that absolutely everyone, no matter who you are, if you had an idea, then you could be part of the punk movement. If you knew your 3 chords, you could write a song, you could write an album. I was slightly more simplistic in how I viewed it, and it was a kind of emotional rebellion rather than a cultural rebellion. I'm not saying I was a fashion punk, because I was a punk 24 hours a day, and I paid the price that many punks paid, and that was, you know, you were a social outcast as far as anyone else was concerned other than a punk. But I didn't fully understand the politics. I was slow to learn on that level. My friend Derek suggested that I should see a band called the Sex Pistols because everyone's talking about them, they're the new thing, etc., etc. It wasn't that I saw the Sex Pistols and thought, oh, you've changed my life. I thought I saw them and my reaction was, I can do better, I'm going to London to do it. I mean, it's such arrogance, but it was still historically brilliant, because from then on I knew that I didn't have to behave in a social norm, because I wasn't alone. And I just thought, great, I'm going to London, fuck this, I ain't coming back. And it was just a huge turning point for me.
But it wasn't long before her wild looks were getting her noticed by film directors.
I got the part in Jubilee because I was working at the National Theatre, and I was only punk there. And a wonderful actor, Ian Charleston, who was in Chariots of Fire, took me to meet Derek Jarman, the director. And Derek just threw me the script across the room and said, pick a part. So I leafed through it, and I picked the part with the most lines. It later emerged that Derek had to cut that part because there wasn't enough money for this character. And I absolutely flipped, and I was broken-hearted. So Derek gave up his fee so that I could play Mad.
It was the chance to work alongside another rising star, Prince Charming himself, Adam Ant. But there was to be no fairy tale ending to this partnership.
I had a massive fight with Adam on that film because we created a band called the Man-Eaters, which was myself, Adam's secret wife, Eve, a girl called Stephanie and a girl called Anne-Marie. And we were going to carry on writing after the film was finished and do gigs and concerts and stuff. And Adam just couldn't bear my ego. I mean, it was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, we're going to do that. I mean, it was like world domination. That was all I could think about. So he had me thrown out of the band, but he happened to do it on the last day of filming of Jubilee, which meant we had to be in the same room as each other. I just flew at him. You know, it was like all fist blazing.
Toyah decided that it was time to get back together with her friend and music partner, Joel Bogan, and to carry on writing music. But Toyah heard about a movie being made by the then cult mod band The Who. Quadrophenia was to become one of the biggest rock movies of the decade, starring some of the biggest names around. And Toyah wasn't going to be left out.
When I was doing Quadrophenia, I was getting an awful lot of press because the band were doing so well. We were having 2,000 people turn up to every venue to see us, and we hadn't been signed at a time when everyone was being signed by the big majors. And we did a showcase for a company called Safari Records, and they just signed us on the spot, which amazed me because, you know, I'm a live performer. I need my audience. I need that interaction. And we were performing in a tiny little rehearsal studio that smelt of beer and piss. So it just worked. They signed us, and it felt great. And it meant I could go back to Quadrophenia the next day and go to Sting. I've just been signed.
Toyah's new band consisted of Joel Bogan, Pete Bush on keyboards, Windy Miller on bass, and Steve Bray on drums.
Once I was signed, I really loved every moment of what happened. We were made to demo virtually once a month. We had to continually produce music. And that was great because it gave the band focus. It made us feel really good. We put on a retainer of 30 quid a week, so we felt as though we were employed. It was fab because at last we had the backup to kind of break us. We were given press. We could say, well, we want that press, we want that press. I want this clothes designer. And suddenly the snowball started to grow. It was a very good time. It felt brilliant. When I first heard It's a Mystery, I thought it just wasn't for me. It was written by a friend called Keith Hale for a band called Blood Donor. And the record company wanted me to cover it, so I went and did a demo of it in the studio, and I just hated it. I just sat there singing it thinking this is the end of my career. It's the end of 4 brilliant years' work as a credible rock artist out the window, because I'd worked from 77 right up to 1980, and I had an army of followers, and I just knew that this song wasn't for them.
It's a mystery. Oh, it's a mystery.
Little did she know that the single would storm the charts, making Toyah an international name and a pop superstar. Join me after the break to see how the song she hated so much opened the door to pop fame and fortune. See you in a mo.